This video is sponsored by the Excelsior Sporting Club, Lion Paw Security Services, and Sigma Sports Management. This is James Luxon. I'm delighted to be joined with Carl Greaves. Carl, mate, how are you?
I'm good, James. Not bad, thank you. How are you?
Good stuff. Yeah, very well. Thank you. Very well. Just saying off before recording there how you've been involved in nearly every role in the sport you can think of. You know, you've obviously been in the ring as a boxer, amateur and pro, manager, coach, promoter, matchmaker. You've done it all. I want to sort of go through the changes from when you first walked into the gym to now training and coaching fighters. What's the biggest change, do you think, in the sport?
I just feel that there's been so many changes. I've seen so much over the years. Just the mentality of fighters now, the mentality of trainers, managers, the old game really. I just feel that the way things have been with obviously our fighters, I feel fighters are a little bit more spoiled now than when we was back in the day. You get you get them asking you who they want to box and telling you what they want to do in training, and we never had none of that. You know what I mean? You got told who you was fighting, and you got told what you was doing in training. So there's been a lot of changes. Like you say, I've seen so much over the years. I mean, my first ever fight was 1989. I turned pro in '96, and yeah, I mean, obviously you've got the big changes in how the promoters are working now with the ticket deals, and now you're getting a lot of like prospects fighting journeymen where back in the day you never really had much choice. You just went straight into like 50-50s and that. So yeah, so obviously there's been a lot of changes as a fighter, I think.
Do you think it's more negative now? Do you feel it's on one hand harder to make it to the top for some fighters, but on the other hand, it's easier for some fighters to make it to the top with the social media side of things as well?
Yeah, I mean we had no social media. You know what I mean? I think Box Rec was around then. I think Box Rec's been around a long time, but your manager would ring you and tell you was fighting, and you just took it. You know what I mean? You just took it. Nowadays, you tell a fighter who they're boxing, and they will go away. They'll study him. They'll know everything about him, even probably what colour boxer shorts they're wearing. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean it's so different. It's hard to explain, really. I mean, it's just how the game is. I mean, it's frustrating, really, as well. Very frustrating.
I see you put a post on social media recently saying you don't know how much longer you'll stick around in the sport. And to me, that shows it's clearly had a negative impact on you, the changes that you have experienced and how it is turning out at the moment. Do you feel it can come back around again and swing back to how it was back in the day?
I'm hoping so, but it's just getting harder. Obviously, all the fees are going up. Promoting shows, the cost of everything. It's just really, really difficult. And there were stages where I was always making money on shows, and now it's virtually impossible. The cost of things are going up. It's getting harder and harder to match fighters now. I mean, obviously, there's the lack of journeymen around now. You can't really build your fighters up like you'd like to. And obviously the cost of bringing foreigners in now, it's just hard for the kids as well. I mean, I'm saying how things have changed and how difficult it is. It's difficult for the fighters now because they've got to really graft to sell tickets. I mean, as a promoter, obviously promoting small or boxing, I hardly sell a ticket myself. I mean, I can do the posters, I can put it out on social media, I can graft myself as a promoter trying to sell a show. But it's just so hard. I mean, a boxing fan nowadays, if they want to go and watch boxing, they'll go and pay the same sort of money to go and watch a big show and probably go to the local leisure centre to watch somebody they don't really know. So it's hard. I mean, obviously these ticket deals now, I mean, pay your opponent, go 50-50 with the promoter, but the cost of these opponents, there's hardly anything left for the fighter or the promoter to put into the show. So it's really tough. And like I say, I've seen a lot of changes. I mean, there's not no really proper boxing men in the game now. It's changed a lot. I mean, social media's played a big part, and it's just frustrating to see as a die-hard boxing man who's been in the game since 9 years old. It's just very, very frustrating how the game's changing, and obviously now you've got all this misfits, this YouTube boxing, and they're all earning fortunes, and then you get lads grafting day in, day out, proper boxers who's gone through the amateur system and hasn't quite made it to the top, but they've still got a graft to sell tickets to make it work. So it's frustrating for them as well. I mean, it must be heartbreaking seeing, looking on, obviously, obviously the YouTube boxing, see how much they're earning and how well they're doing. And that's not being bitter. It's just when you're a proper boxer who's been through the old system and just can't make it work, can't make it pay, having to work, you know what I mean, 8 hour days and obviously run in the morning and train at night and they're still on ticket deals. It's so tough. And like I say, as a promoter, I'd really like to open, but without TV, it's virtually impossible to make it work now. It's getting harder and harder, and I just don't think it's going to get any better. I think I see the board are putting all the fees up. Obviously, they're putting all the cost of everything. I mean, the referees have gone up, the timekeepers have gone up, the doctors have gone up. I got an email saying the paramedics are putting the cost up 15%. Obviously, the travel and the cost of opponents, it's just virtually impossible now, James.
One question I always ask fighters is boxing, it's not a glamorous sport. You're getting punched in the face for a living. It's not the easiest job in the world. It's not the most comfortable job in the world. I always ask fighters, why do they stick at it? Why do they continue doing it? For yourself, Carl, why do you continue to promote when it is so hard, especially these days? Why do you
Yeah.
continue doing what you do?
It's because it's something that's installed in me. I just like to say I've been doing it since a kid. I'm a fighter in and out of the ring. I mean, obviously promoting, I've really done well. I mean, I've done 152 shows since 2007. I've had some great times, got some great memories, but it's getting harder and harder. And I mean, it's very frustrating. I mean, I've got no backing behind me. Everything I've done out of boxing is from my own money and my own pocket. I've grafted since a kid, and like I say, it's getting really hard, and I don't want to be chucking my own money now that I've really worked hard for into the sport. It's just frustrating, but I'll keep going as long as I can. I mean, I put that tweet out, more of a bit of frustration, really. I just don't feel like the game's what it was. The fighters aren't what they are. Like I say, they're a little bit spoiled now, and I just feel like the way the amateur system is now. I mean, these top fighters from who's getting the big deals from like the former Olympians and all that. I just think there's such a big divide from how they're training the fighters on the GB to how the pro game is, how the style is, and I feel like you don't see a lot of inside fighting now. You see a lot of these fighters holding inside because they've never been taught how to fight inside on the GB squad. It's always in and out on the toes, point picking, a bit of fencing, as you say, and I just feel that it's frustrating again because these are getting all the opportunities, all the big deals, and then you've got kids who's really good fighters just getting a sniff really because obviously they haven't got the amateur pedigree, but most of these kids that never really made it to the top in the amateurs turn out they're better professionals, and I've always said that because they can adapt, you can work with them. They've not been in the amateurs as long, they've not been on the GB setup. You can teach them how to fight inside, whereas a lot of these kids now they've never been shown how to fight inside, and they've been in the game amateur system that long. It's just difficult for them to adapt now, but they're the ones getting all the opportunities and all the deals. You know what I mean?
No, definitely. Just sticking with the small hole show theme. I mean, I've been to some of your shows and I know how good they are. Um, in terms of as a promoter, what would you advise people to come? Why would you tell people to come watch your shows and small hall shows? I mean, one fight that sticks out for me from another small hall show that I still to this day regret not going to that show was Leon McKenzie and Cello Renda down at York Hall. There are some absolute crackers on small hall events. So, what would you say to people who contemplate or debate going down there, but also to TV or YouTube streamers? Why are these not being televised or why are these not being streamed? Because some of these events are very, very good shows.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, you've got your kids that's just starting out. You've got to build up, and you're expecting with them selling so many tickets, you've got to try and get them a win. I mean, obviously, get the odd upset, but you've got to build them up. But like I say, it's getting harder and harder to build them up because we're running out of opposition for them. So they're getting chucked in a little bit earlier than they need to, or we want them to, really. But at the top scale in small or boxing, you can get some really good fights. I mean, the area title fights, when the more 60-40, 50-50 fights, and then you get in the English title fights. And if you've got a bit more money, you know what I mean, you've got a bit of sponsorship, or you've got a few big sellers on there, you can probably put even better fights on, than probably go a step above the English and look at the Commonwealth, and maybe even a British. I mean, I've promoted area English, British, Commonwealth title fights with no TV, and I've made it work through one way or another. Obviously, got a bit of sponsorship, or I've had kids that sell a big ticket. So as an whole, it's really good. But you can get some fantastic fights on the non-TV shows. Like I say, good old domestic area title dust-ups, and the English title fights. There's some great fights out there, and I think a lot of people who's never been to a small hall show would have a brilliant night. I mean, if they're just used to the big shows, if they come down and watch a small hall show, I think they'd be very surprised.
Absolutely. And obviously, in a small hall arena, you're a lot closer to the action. And like I say, more times than not, you're going to get the same level of entertainment, if not more, on a small hall event.
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, I mean, I've promoted all over the country. I've promoted in every single area there is. And like I say, it's been a great journey. I've had some great times, some great memories. I brought some good fighters through from the small old shows to the TV shows, and it's been a great achievement. I've been very proud of it, and they've gone on to do very well. It's getting a little bit more harder, like I say now. I mean, it's getting difficult now to get your fighters a TV deal unless they've got a big pedigree from the amateurs behind them, which, like I say, I don't agree with. I think they're missing the boat, really, a lot of these promoters, because there's some very good fighters out there that never really was great amateurs, but they're proving people wrong, and they're doing very good as a pro. And I just feel like the TV promoters need to take a little bit more of a closer look at them, and not just go on amateur pedigree, because, like I said before, it don't mean nothing.
Last question, Cole. We mentioned about changes from when you fought to today. Today's boxing, it seems to be very prominent and prolific with fighters failing drugs tests. We've seen recently Conor Benn, who fought out in America. They found a loophole. He's not cleared to fight in the UK by the British Border Control, but they found a loophole and he's boxed out in Florida. I mean, firstly, what message does that send out? And are Peds a worse case now than it was back then, or has it always been there, but we didn't know about it? It's only now coming out because of social media.
Well, like I say, I never heard about it when I was boxing. Never heard about it when I was boxing. Obviously, now you've got social media and all that. It's more open, and people are getting to hear about things more. But I never heard anything about Peds back in the day when I was fighting. And like I say, the Conor Benn situation, it's a bit strange. I mean, you know what I mean? He's failed a drugs test. Frank Smith said, obviously, why does he need to be open and speak about it? I mean, I saw an interview saying, why does he need to tell people the ins and outs, what's actually happened? So what he's saying basically is, you know what I mean, he's been cleared to fight, but why do we need to tell people the reason why he's been cleared to fight? I mean, at the end of the day, I know obviously he ain't got to tell everybody, but people inside the game are a little bit unsure, and it's bit of a mystery, really. I mean, like I say, he's clear to fight in America, but he can't fight in Britain now. Um, he don't send out good signals, does it? I mean, it's not great for boxing, and you're hearing more and more about it every week in boxing. How many people are failing drugs tests, and it's just sad to see, really. I mean, boxing is a sport where you go in there to hurt one another, obviously unintentionally. It's just a sport at the end of the day. But if you've been on the gear, you know what I mean, and you go and hurt somebody bad, and how could you live with yourself? You know what I mean? Knowing you've been in there cheating and taking illegal substances. I mean, it's just wrong. I mean, there's lives at stake in the boxing ring, and it's a tough enough sport. We are taking on someone who's actually on the Peds, so it's not good. It's all wrong, and there's always going to be question marks now regarding the Conor Benn situation. It just don't send out good messages for boxing.
You're a promoter and manager and a coach. If you was in Eddie Hearn's situation and you had Conor Benn was one of your fighters, how would you have managed that situation differently?
It's a frustrating one, isn't it? Because obviously Eddie Hearn is adamant he's not guilty. He's adamant. He obviously knows something we don't, or does he? I mean, this is the question, isn't it? I mean, is he just doing what he can to back his man? Obviously knows the actual truth, what's gone off, but just doing what he can to cover it up. We'll never know, will we? I mean, the only people that know is the people very, very close to Connor, and obviously Eddie Hearn knows. They all know the truth, but will we ever get to find out? I don't know. Um, in my situation, I've never ever come across it. I don't think I've ever had one boxer fail a drugs test. Not to my memory anyway. No, and I've had hundreds of boxers through my hands over the years. I don't know how I'd react if I did find out. Um, it's one of them, isn't it? But I'm very against things like that, and I don't take kindly to people being on illegal substances, especially in boxing, because like I say, his lives and health at risk, and you can do damage without being on the gear. Never mind being on the gear. So it's not good.
No, absolutely. Well, Cole, that was the last question I had for you. I want to thank you again for your time. It's been great catching up with you.
Yeah, top man, James. Thank you.